Good morning, good morning, good morning. I am your boy, R.W. Coolins. Welcome to Speak On It. First and foremost, giving honor to the God who allows me to come at you in this manner on a weekly basis. We got a good show for you this morning. Got some information we're going to pass on to you. Welcome to 2024. This is the first show of 2024. We got some new insight, new purpose, new focus. That's what we're doing here on the show this year in 2024. So without further ado, let's get this thing started. Let's go. R.W. Coolins over all social media platforms. We're broadcasting live on YouTube and Facebook this morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific, every Saturday morning here on the Speak On It show. 2024, y'all, it's upon us. It's upon us. It's upon us. Let's get these rest of these formalities out of the way. 844-904-2665. That's 844-904-2665. No matter what the situation is, let your voice be heard. Always ask to say what you mean what you say. You're calling his friends, we leave his family. That's what we do here on the Speak On It show every Saturday morning. As I mentioned, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific time. Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, sis. Happy New Year to you too. Happy New Year to everyone out there. Happy New Year. Happy New Year. We survived the first week. Let's just be real. We survived the first week of the new year. Hopefully everybody had a good time. Everybody enjoyed themselves. Everybody was safe. Everybody has some lifestyle changes, some lifestyle focus things that they want to do for this year. But we're going to get into that later on in the show. But as I mentioned, 844-904-2665. That is the number, the call-in number for you to get in. And we're going to start it off like I always do, because this is important. It's very important. Can I vote? www.nass.org. Can I vote? Get in there. Make sure your information is correct. We got the slides here. Let's go here. Add to the stage. This is what the website looks like. Go in there. Touch on, click on this, click on the different screens. www.nass.org. You go through, check, get your information, put your information in, what state you're from, all your information. Make sure you're good to go. Make sure you are good to go to vote when it comes around. November 2024. That's what we're looking at. November 2024 is the time to vote. Don't wait until then. Get your stuff together now. Let's do what we do when we're supposed to do what we're supposed to do when we're supposed to do it. Let's just be real about it. Trent Branch, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Happy New Year, my brother. Appreciate you for tuning in. Thank you for your continued support. Same to you, sis. Appreciate everybody out there for continued support. I was sitting back reflecting over the last year. And I said, the show has been peaks and valleys, which is normal. But those that are consistent, I appreciate you. Those that are inconsistent, I appreciate you. It's the fact that you're tuning in, you're getting something from the show. That's what it's all about. So continue to tune in, continue to like, share, subscribe, do what you do with the other people you watch. And then we take it from there. We're going to continue to do what we do here on the Speak On It show. Reggie P. good morning. Good morning. Happy New Year, my brother. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for tuning in. Appreciate you for being on last week for the wrap up of 2023. Appreciate your input, my brother. Appreciate that. So got a couple new segments I'm going to try. We're going to try. Let's see what happens. We make some changes. As time goes, you got to change some things. So I'm not even going to give it out there. Let's just get into it. Y'all ready? Let's go. In the news today, January 6th, 3 years ago was the insurrection on the Capitol. 3 years ago today was the insurrection on the Capitol. And there's a lot of people that, and I want y'all to go back and think, when this first happened, they didn't call it an insurrection. And after time, they wanted to call it a mob, a riot, and all these different things. And you have to know why they didn't want to call it insurrection is because what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with the fact that Donald Trump, former President Donald Trump, is on trial in different places, not the trials yet, but to be off the ballot because of the 14th Amendment, and also being put on trial for the insurrection on January 6th. Just put it out there. This is in the news. All right. And it says here, on the eve of January 6th, on the eve of the third anniversary of January 6th Capitol riot, a $30 million wrongful death suit has been filed against the federal government for the Capitol Police shooting of Air Force veteran Ashley Babbitt. Washington-based Judicial Watch filed the suit on behalf of Babbitt's estate and her husband, Aaron Babbitt, claiming the officer who shot Babbitt was incompetent and dangerous and should have seen that the 35-year-old posed no threat to Congress when she entered the House Speaker's lobby. Stop right there. We all know the story about what happened to Ashley Babbitt on that day. We also know that Ashley Babbitt shouldn't have been in the Capitol on that day. She breached security to get into the Capitol on that day. I'm not going to rehash all of it, but what I'm going to say is this. For them to bring a lawsuit against against the officer in the Capitol doing his job lets you know that this is all smoke and mirrors for a lot of reasons. They know she shouldn't have been there. The people that were there knew they shouldn't have been there. And they went into this. The suit explains it as this is what happened. Lieutenant Byrd, who was a USCP commander and was the incident commander for the House on January 6, 2021, shot Ashley Babbitt as she raised herself up into the opening of the right door side light. Not one member of Congress was in the lobby, which was guarded by multiple armed police officers. Additional armed police officers were in the hallway outside the lobby and or on the adjoining stairway. Ashley could not have seen Lieutenant Byrd, who was positioned far to Ashley's left and on the opposite side of the doors near an opening to the retiring room, a distance of approximately 15 feet and an angle of approximately 160 degrees. Sergeant Timothy Lively, one of the armed officers guarding the lobby doors from the hallway, later told officials investigating the shooting, "I saw him. There was no way that woman would have seen that." Lieutenant Byrd, who was not in uniform, did not identify himself as a police officer or otherwise make his presence known to Ashley. Lieutenant Byrd did not give Ashley any warnings or commands before shooting her dead. Let's hash this out for a minute because I got time today. James Battle, good morning. Appreciate your support, brother. Happy New Year. Ashley Babbitt, this lawsuit, what happened at the Capitol on January 6th? You put yourself in the position where you knew you weren't supposed to be there. They brought up in this lawsuit that she was no threat to any member of Congress, but they were on the Capitol grounds without permission and in the normal way you're supposed to go about it. Now let's look at this for a minute. The same things they've said in this lawsuit against against the officer, is the same thing we hear in the police shootings against black men each and every time it happens. They brought up the fact that he didn't identify himself, or he was in plain clothes and didn't identify himself. How many times have we heard that in police shootings against African Americans? All the time. But it gets pushed under the rug because they bring up everything in the background of the individual they chose to shoot to show that it was a requirement for them to kill him because of his past practices. But with Ashley Babbitt, now it's a lawsuit because she was somewhere she wasn't supposed to be, and they were trying to overthrow a government, our government, your government. Get that out of here. Get that out of here. James Battle. If someone is breaking my window trying to get into my house, they're not getting a warning either. There it is. Stand your ground. They bring it up all the time. Was this a stand your ground? It's amazing to me that this lawsuit is coming up and people are still in an uproar about this, but this is what they do. Moving on to other news. In the news. Yesterday. Well, let's start with this. Let's start with Nikki Haley. Let's go back to Nikki Haley, who I touched on last week. Nikki Haley after her quote unquote gaffe, where she said she never mentioned that the Civil War was because of slavery, followed up her statement then, trying to do damage control, and said this week. I had black friends growing up. Which should eliminate the fact that she never mentioned slavery when they talked about the Civil War. But I had black friends growing up. These are the politicians. These are the people running for office. These are the people trying to get elected to become president. People like her. Pay attention to not everything they say all the time, but their actions, their legislation, and how they try to backpedal on what they said the first time, which is what they meant, but try to clear it up later on. Also yesterday, Joe Biden gave a speech at Valley Forge. He went after Trump. I mean, they've been going after Biden forever, so I mean, it was just a matter of time. But what he said in his speech, he said a few things that jumped out. Terrence Collins, good morning, my brother. Good morning. Appreciate you. Happy New Year. There's no confusion about who Trump is or what he intends to do. We all know who Donald Trump is. The question is, who are we? This is from Joe Biden in his speech. He also said, Mr. Biden said that by contrast, Mr. Trump refuses to denounce political violence, asserting that you cannot be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. You cannot be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. Let that marinate. You cannot be pro-insurrectionist and pro-American. Not my words. Joe Biden. Joe Biden's words. And that was at a speech he did yesterday, commemorating the 3-year anniversary, per se, of January 6th. Also this week, one of Donald Trump's lawyers, Elena Babbitt. No, I'm sorry. Let me get her name right. Ms. Haba. Babbitt, I'm sorry, y'all. Haba. This is what she said. Pay attention. Pay attention. Pay attention. That's a true statement. Yes, it is. I think it should be a slam dunk in the Supreme Court. I have faith in them, Haba told Fox News host Sean Hannity on Thursday evening. You know, people like Kavanaugh, Justice Kavanaugh now, watch this, who the president fought for, who the president went through hell to get into place, he'll step up. He'll step up. Haba added that the justices would step up, not because they are pro-Trump, but because they are pro-law, because they are pro-fairness, and the law on this is very clear. Let's go back to what she said about Kavanaugh. You know, people like Kavanaugh, who the president fought for, who the president went through hell to get into place, he'll step up. So now, basically, this is one of those quid pro quo. Do for me, I'll do for you. Everybody who knows Donald Trump and knows of Donald Trump, knows who Donald Trump is, knows that he doesn't do anything just because. He doesn't do anything unless he knows he can get something on the other end. Quid pro quo. Call it what it is. And then Friday, the Supreme Court agreed to consider whether former President Donald Trump could be deemed ineligible to run for office again because of his actions leading up to the January 6th attack on the Capitol, a case that could have seismic impact on the presidential election. They're looking to have a case, hear the briefings on February 8th of whether he should be allowed to be on the ballot in Colorado. Now, this is going to affect a lot of other states that are right now on hold because they're waiting on the Supreme Court to see if the Supreme Court was going to take it up. And now that they're going to take it up, the briefings are on February 8th. And then we will see if these judicial members read the 14th Amendment, Article 3, like everyone else reads it. That anyone who gives cover, participates in an insurrection cannot hold office, which means you can't run for office in order to hold office. Let's see how this turns out. See, this is where we sit back and we listen to the things they say for years and years and years, depending on what cases come before them. And then they always go to the forefathers. Let's see if they go to the forefathers in this instance. What was the forefathers' intent in this instance? You can't say when it says that in the articles that it doesn't say the president. You can't tell me that when they wrote this, they said this covers anybody except the president or the sitting president. Because if you're saying that, then you're saying that everything that they wrote in these amendments and in the Constitution and all these different things, because it wasn't stated, because it wasn't specifically stated to that individual or that office, that it doesn't cover him. But let's be honest, if that's the case, then the amendments of the Constitution do not cover and do not have to be held against any person of color in this country, because it didn't matter to us because we were slaves when it was written. So if you're going to tell me that because it doesn't specifically say the president under this amendment, then what you're telling me is everything that in this country that goes on politically, lawfully, legislatively should not be held against African Americans or anybody that they so-called in the browning of America. Now, you can take it for what it's worth, but I'm just saying, if we're going to pick and choose, let's look at the whole thing. Because everybody out here knows through history, when the forefathers was writing these articles, anybody other than white men were not even taken into account. Women, African Americans, across the board, not even taken into account. So let's see where this is going to go. Now, I know I put a little spin on it, but I'm just saying it is what it is. Also yesterday, Marjorie Taylor Greene was planning to hold a rally to celebrate the insurrection of January 6th in Florida. And when the people that the venue that they were trying to do it at found out that what it was all about, they shut it down. Now, my question is this. With something that was done that day to people who are her constituents in Congress and the Senate, how are you going to throw a celebration about an insurrection on the Capitol against this democracy as a sitting House member? How can you honestly say that this person, Marjorie Taylor Greene, took an oath and stands on that oath when she's willing to throw a party per se, some kind of event, and celebrate the insurrection on the Capitol? Come on, y'all. Come on. Josh Boyd, good morning, my brother. Appreciate you. Happy New Year. Good seeing you, my brother. Good seeing you. Let that marinate. Think about that for a minute. You have people that serve this country in positions that are willing to celebrate the overthrow of democracy in this country while they still serve in those positions. Yeah. That's where we're at, y'all. That's in the news. That is in the news. We're going to wrap that up. We're not going to stick on that news too much long because I got something I really want to get into. We really want to get into this. This is something that's going to help all of us. It's going to improve our lives from my perspective anyway. Let's go. 2024. There's a lot of you out there that have made New Year's resolutions. One weekend. Some people didn't make it past the first day. I'm not trying to laugh at you. I'm just making a statement, because when you say New Year's resolutions, normally they don't follow through. Gyms were crowded, grocery stores crowded, and people buying all the vegetables and trying to eat right and everything on this first week of the year and everything. Do you? But I want to talk about something that's lifestyle changes. Lifestyle changes. That's the focus of 2024 for me, is lifestyle changes. And I always say lifestyle change, but I took it to another level this year. I wanted to take it to another level because I think it's something that we talk about, we hear, but we don't adhere. I'm going to use big words today. The common denominator. I call it the common denominator. And the common denominator this year is health. Mental, spiritual, physical, relationship, and financial. Those are the 5 pillars of what I'm going to use this year for health. Now, you can take whatever parts you want, but we're going to touch on this. We're going to have some guests on to talk about all these different pieces. I'm going to get somebody about the mental health, somebody spiritual, the physical, the relationship, and the financial to come on. And we're going to talk about it. I'm not an expert in any of these. I'm not an expert in any of these. But I do have my opinion on something that is going to make us feel better. And I've been pondering this for a while, because a lot of people come out and say, he ain't no health person. He ain't this, he ain't that. You know how people do. You know what they do. But anyway, let me make this a little bigger for y'all. Hold on once. I don't want to be the main focus. There we go. The common denominator: health, mental, spiritual, physical, relationship, and financial. These are the 2024 lifestyle focus from an R.W. Cooling's perspective. And I think if we concentrate on these, it'll make you well-rounded. Now, you can change pieces, make it like a puzzle. You can change the mental to something else. You can change any of these to something else. But these are the 5 that I felt are the best focus for us to get to becoming, as we always say, a better you. And this is for 2024. So I pulled this up. And when I talk about the common denominator of health, we always hear, and my man Johnny Boyd, Johnny L., appreciate you. I always hear him say health is wealth. And we hear it often: health is wealth, health is wealth, health is wealth. So when I thought about this, I said, health is wealth. But when you think about it, when you think about your health being your wealth, you can't succeed at doing anything if you're not healthy across the board. Whether we're talking mentally, spiritually, physically, relationship-wise, financially, you have to be healthy. Not just in it, but healthy. So I brought this up, and I'm going to read this. The meaning of health has evolved over time in keeping with the biomedical perspective. Early definitions of health focused on the theme of the body's ability to function. Health was seen as a state of normal function that could be disrupted from time to time by disease. An example of such a definition of health is a state characterized by anatomic, physiological, and psychological integrity, ability to perform personally valued family, work, and community roles, ability to deal with physical, biological, psychological, and social stress. I know that's a mouthful, but stay with me. Then in 1948, in a radical departure from previous definitions, the World Health Organization proposed a definition that aimed higher linking health to well-being, which is where we're going, in terms of physical, mental, and social being, and not merely the absence of disease and infirmity. Let me stop there for a minute, because I think one of the biggest things that we have to understand, when we say health, the first thing we think about is non-disease, not having to take pills, not having to take, going to the doctor or being under medication or being under a doctor's care. When we say health, we only think of the physical per se. That's one of the main focuses we do, is we concentrate on our physical. Am I healthy? Am I eating right? Those things. But there's so many different spectrums. And you heard me say it on here, and we're going to get into it, but we talk about the mental. What are you watching? What are you listening to? What are you involved in? When we talk about the spiritual, where are you grounded? Are you grounded in your faith? Are you spiritually in touch with who you are as a being? When we talk about the physical, as we say, the exercise, the diet, and all those things, relationship. Are you comfortable in your relationships? Are you in these relationships, all those relationships that you're in, not only in your marriage or anything like that, but are your family relationship healthy? Let me say that again. Are your family relationships healthy? That went over some people's heads, but I'm gonna keep going. Financial. When we talk about financial health, this is not to say that you need to be rich. It's not to be saying that you got money oozing out of your pores. Financial health means that when you don't have your stuff together financially, it starts affecting other things because stress, your mentality, and your go-getter attitude where you have to go by any means necessary in order to survive. These are the 5 things that I'm concentrating on this year. Y'all come on, ride with me now. Ride with me. Got a couple things here. Sharice Joseph, good morning. Happy New Year. Appreciate it. Happy New Year to you. Big L, my brother. Good morning, man. Happy New Year to you, my brother. Happy New Year. But these are the 5. These are the 5. And as it mentioned in here, the World Health Organization back in the day concentrated only on your health physically. Are you under doctor's care and different things like that? Then in 1948, in a radical departure from previous definitions, they proposed a definition that aimed higher, linking health to well-being, which is where we're at now. But it really changed in the 1980s. Just as there was a shift from viewing disease as a state of thinking of it as a process, the same shift happened in definitions of health. Again, the World Health Organization played a leading role when it fostered the development of the health promotion movement in the 1980s. This brought in a new conception of health, not as a state of health, but in a dynamic terms of resiliency, in other words, as a resource for living. In 1984, the World Health Organization revised the definition of health, defined it as the extent to which an individual or group is able to realize aspirations and satisfy needs, and to change or cope with the environment. I know that's a lot, but let me reread that again, because the extent to which an individual or group is able to realize aspirations and satisfy needs, and to change or cope with the environment. Health is a resource for everyday life, not the objective of living. It is a positive concept emphasizing social and personal resources as well as physical capacities. Thus, health referred to the ability to maintain homeostasis and recover from adverse events. Mental, intellectual, emotional, and social health referred to a person's ability to handle stress, as I mentioned a few minutes ago, to acquire skills, to maintain relationships, all of which form resources for resiliency and independent living. This opens up many possibilities for health to be taught, strengthened, and learned. Now, I know that's a lot, but you can always go back and listen to it again so you can process what I said, because I don't want to keep repeating. But this is where I want to focus on in 2024. Lifestyle changes. You see, I notice on there, I said 2024 lifestyle focus. Lifestyle focus. And within the common denominator of your health, when we talk about mental, spiritual, physical, relationship, and financial, these are the common denominators of your health that can either make you healthy or unhealthy, from my perspective. Now, like I said, I'm not an expert, but we're going to have some people on. But I'm going to give you the basics today, and then we're going to go through this. When we talk about your mental health, and we've talked about this a lot, we had a show on the Barbershop Talk. We've had the mental health aspect talked about with Pastor Dr. Robert Powell. We talked about it with Michelle Summerall, when we talk about Alzheimer's, dementia, and the caregiver and having your mental health aligned. Mental health. The World Health Organization describes mental health as a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community. Mental health is not just the absence of mental illness. Let me read that one more time. Mental health is not just the absence of mental illness. That's important. It's very important to me. And I'll say that because normally when we say mental health, if you're don't have a mental illness, or if you don't think anything's wrong with you mentally, you think everything's okay. But your mental does not have to specifically be a mental illness. If you're not mentally strong in the capacity of what's going on around you, is your mental healthy? Or is your mental wavering? Or is your mental just scrambled? Mental health. We talked about this, and we talked about it last year about therapy, going to see therapists, going to talk to people, getting what's going on with you out in the open so someone can diagnose or even just have that conversation and let you know these are the things that you need to look at, or giving you a pathway, not to heal you, but giving you a pathway for you to think and start thinking better mentally about what you want in life, who you are in this life. All inclusive. Health, the common denominator. You're going to continue to hear me say that. Mental health. Get the help you need if you need help. If you think you need help and you're not sure you need help, go to therapy. Get a therapist. Sit down. Talk to them. Sometimes what we realize is we have only scratched the surface of who we are and what's going on with us because of experiences, traumas, all these things that go on in our lives. Think about this. Think about it this way. And I'm gonna digress for a minute, but and I use this analogy a lot, so y'all ride with me. I want you to think about your body, your brain, your heart, your internal organs, your intestines, your stomach, everything, just everything as a whole. And then break them down individually and look at it this way. And I know Big L will appreciate this when I say this. You have a car. Ride with me if you heard me say this before, but you have a car. Your car requires oil changes every so many miles. Your car is going to require tires depending on how you drive, how often you drive. If you keep them inflated, watch this now. If you keep the tires inflated to the proper PSI, alternators that drive the battery, which starts the car. Watch where I'm going now. All the things you can think about of your car that makes it run at the level it's supposed to, like it was brand new, over years and years and years. No matter how many oil changes, no matter how many batteries you change out, that alternator you change, all those things are going to go bad. Hoses, all those things are going to go bad as time goes on, the wear and tear. Now take that and look at yourself. I've been on this earth 57 years. And in 57 years, I've ingested a lot of foods, a lot of different foods. I've ingested a lot of drinking, a lot of water. I'm going to say water. A lot of alcohol. I've seen a lot of things. I've heard a lot of things. And all these things are in my brain, constantly running, because I'm digesting them mentally. I'm eating food and I'm digesting it in my system, which can affect your heart, the way your blood flows. All these different things in your body are no different than what's dealing with in your car. But we don't look at it in the same way because we think our body is not affected by these things until we go and get that blood drawn. And they tell you got high cholesterol, or they tell you got high blood pressure, or type 2 diabetes, and all these things that we go when we get diagnosed about. Now it's time to come up with a plan on how we're going to fix it or what we're going to do. Think about it this way. Your car, when you buy it, a new car, comes with the owner's manual. And it has a recommendation on how often you should get the oil change. What you should do if this light comes on. Where you should take it to if this light comes. Go to the dealer. Pull over to the side of the road, call tow truck. It tells you all the things you need to do with your car. But how many of us listen to that? How many of us follow step for step? If it says your oil needs to be changed at 7,500 miles, you probably don't go until about 9,000 to 10. This is what we do with our bodies. We do the same thing with our bodies. If they tell you to go get a colonoscopy when you turn 50, some of y'all don't go until you're 60. If they tell you need to get an annual physical, some of y'all go every 2 to 3 years because they told you the last time you had a physical that everything was fine. Some of you, they tell you to go get a colonoscopy. You get the colonoscopy and they tell you they found 3 to 4 polyps. So now they want you to come back every so often and you don't go. Some of you riding around right now. I ain't trying to call nobody out with a check engine light on. And I ain't talking about in your car. I'm talking about in you. You're riding around, you're walking around, you're celebrating, you're doing all the things that you say you don't need to do because you're trying to be healthy, and you got a check engine light on. The thing about it, that check engine light is a pain here where you can't keep food down. You got a rash on your arm. Something ain't working. Something's swelling up, or you're not digesting food. You ain't been in the bathroom in 3 days. All I'm trying to say is this, y'all. Your health is a common denominator for all these different things, and we choose to ignore them. We have to get better at what we do, how we take care of ourselves. You hear all these people say, my body is a temple. Okay. I'll hold off on that till we get to the spirituality part, but you understand where I'm going. When we talk about physical health, that was the mental health, and I digress. Let's get to the physical health. When we talk about physical health, most people, in most cases, think diet. They have to go on a diet. You don't have to go on a diet. You don't have. Oh, I skipped one. Let me go back because I said spiritual. Let me go in order. I'm sorry. Let's backtrack for a minute. Spiritual health. Spiritual health is a dimension of human wellness that integrates all dimensions of health: physical, emotional, mental, and social. Spiritual health creates meaning in life, cultivates altruism and ethics, and is based on individual perceptions, convincing us of our ability to survive. And we talk about spiritual. This is where the water gets a little muddy for some folks. Because when you say spiritual, the first thing people think is religion. But there are two entities to a certain extent. Your religion and your spirituality can be two different things, but they should lead to the same purpose of who you are and finding out where you stand in this world and what your beliefs are. Spirituality comes from the Latin word spiritus, meaning breath or life. Different worldviews may result in different spiritualities. For instance, how Christians experience the transcendent differs in content from how a Hindu finds the oneness of all things being God. See where that goes? Spirituality is the term that describes the same process of relating to the divine. Religion tends to emphasize the differing content of the divine. Who or what the divine is, what intellectual arguments for or against a dogma. The theology, doctrine, or dharma differs, but the way one engages the holy experientiality is the spirit or essence of the connection. First, begin with connecting with your spiritual center. This is the truth, ultimate source philosophy that you try to live by. Connecting with it will allow him, her, or others to create a rich conversation addressing loneliness and empowering your life for greater success. What do you believe about life? What is the one thing that keeps you going from day to day with a sense of purpose? That's what happens when we talk about spirituality. So, you have to sit back and only you know where you stand on spirituality, your religion, what life is about, what you believe in. That's on you. But it's a common denominator when we talk about your health. Are you spiritually healthy? Are you? That's not saying that you need to be in the church house. A lot of people don't go to church. They read the Bible. They are grounded in their faith. But are you spiritually healthy? That's where the question comes in. James Goodwin, Happy New Year. Appreciate you, my brother. Long time no hear. Happy New Year. Are you spiritually healthy? I'm going to have some people on, like I said, to talk about the spiritual aspect, because I think, we got to get into understanding, and I'm reading these definitions for a reason. The reason I'm reading these definitions and what they stand for is so we have a better understanding of what they're talking about when they say your spiritual health, your relationship health, your financial health. All these things are common denominators in who we are. Health is the main, but health is the second word of each one of these things that I want to concentrate on this year. When we talk about physical health, as I mentioned, we talk about diet. We talk about exercise. And one of the most overlooked parts of your physical health is sleep. Sleep. How many of you only get about 4 or 5 hours of sleep a night? I'm guilty. Because you're doing other things, you don't think you need to sleep. But what you find out after you hit a certain age, the less you sleep, because you hear these people, these celebrities out there talking about, if you sleep more than 5 hours, you're losing money and all. It's whatever. If you're only sleeping 4 to 5 hours, in the, doctors and the physical aspect, what they tell you is if you're only sleeping that much, your body is not getting enough rest for you to be able to function at your full potential. At your full potential. They say you should get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every night. Some of us can, some of us can't. But you should shoot for that. You should shoot for that. If you work out, those hours of sleep allow your body to heal from the workouts. Whether you run, whether you lift weights, your muscles get time to regrow. They're growing while you sleep. The lack of sleep, if you're only sleeping 4 or 5 hours and you're up again, it's not giving that time for those muscles that you broke down while you were lifting weights to grow back together and build. When you talk about diet, everybody says diet. And when you say diet, people think you need to, first thing I think about with diet is restriction. When you tell me diet, I think restriction. Because when you say diet, it means that there's certain things you can and you can't eat, which means it's a restriction. But something I've learned as time goes on is moderation. Eat things in moderation, and you need to be looking to eat healthy things, but that doesn't mean you need to stop eating good things that you like and enjoy. That's the wrong way. I've gone about it in wrong ways where I'm cutting calories. I'm looking calorie counting and all this kind of stuff. And what I found out was by me looking and counting calories and being in a calorie deficit, I'm eating things that have low calorie content, but do not have good benefits once they break down within the system. These are things that we don't pay attention to. So if you're on a diet or you call yourself on a diet, eliminate that from your vocabulary, because diet to me means restriction. It's not diet, lifestyle change. I'm going to change my eating habits for a lifestyle change. Eliminate diet, because when you put diet, it says restriction off the top. I'm going to change my eating habits for a lifestyle change. And in those eating habits, I'm going to eat more fruits. I'm going to eat more vegetables. I'm going to cut back on how much red meat I eat in a week. I'm going to cut back on how much chicken I'm eating. I'm going to go to the fruits and vegetables. I'm going to find alternatives to help me, because meat, from what my doctor told me and we talked about, takes the longest to break down in your system, no matter what type of meat it is. Steak, beef is the number one meat that is the hardest to break down or the longest to break down in your system when you eat it. Just telling you what I know. Not the expert. Brian Hoodie, good morning. Appreciate you. Happy New Year, my brother. So when we talk about physical health, diet, exercise, sleep, when we talk about exercise, let's talk about exercise for a minute, because I think people get this misconstrued. Exercise does not mean you got to go out here and run a marathon. Exercise does not mean you got to get up 3 o'clock in the morning every morning to go out and get, if that's what you choose to do, that's a good thing. But those who are not people that exercise for your physical health, I've read articles, and in these articles, they say you have more benefits for your health just walking for those that don't want to get out and run or go and lift weights. Now, you should lift weights somehow, some way, whether it's body weight or weight, only because as time goes on, your muscles, the fat will overtake the muscle component in your body as time goes if you're not lifting weights. You don't have to lift heavy. You just need to lift something. As I say, I'm not the expert. I'm just telling you from my own experiences, what I've dealt with, what I've been told by my doctors. Lift weights, especially if you're over 50. If you're in that 40, 50 range, you need to be lifting some kind of weight. You need to be doing some, what do they call it? Resistance training, some kind of resistance, whether it's lifting, pulling, pushing, whatever it is, you need to add that into it as well as, thank you, Trent Branch, resistance bands, same thing. You don't have to go out here and want to be walking around like Arnold Schwarzenegger or Hulk Hogan or nobody like that. But you have to be doing something for your muscles, because as time goes on, your muscles are going to be depleting and replacing themselves with fat. You need to make, the more muscle you have, the better off you'll be. Just something I've learned. Thank you, Trent Branch, for the resistance band. But yeah, so we're talking about physical health. Now, let's get into relationship health. This is a tough one. Relationship health is a tough one, because when you sit down and you analyze, well, let's start here before I get into that. Relationship health. Healthy relationships for adults are based on respect, equality, support, safety, and freedom from pressure or violence. They involve positive, non-abusive, effective communication, emotional expression, accountability, adaptability, and compromise. Logical thinking, outside interests, personal growth, and compatibility beliefs and values. Healthy relationships bring joy and support, encouraging the other's growth. They are nurtured by genuine fondness and affection that is expressed in various ways. They also require gratitude and appreciation for the small things. Now, relationship health. This is a tough one for a lot of people because, every year, 2020, New Year rolls around and you'll hear people say, this year, I got to leave some people behind. And 9 times out of 10, those people that say this year, I got to leave people behind, go into the next year with the same people because they're comfortable with those people. They feel a need for those people, no matter what level of toxicity they bring. They just have a need for those people in their life, whether it be family, whether it be friends, whether it be coworkers. Your relationships dictate a lot of your mental well-being because of what they bring to the table in that relationship, and you as well. So what I would tell you is when we talk about relationship health, you're probably going to have to do a good analysis. It's going to be hard, but you're going to have to do an analysis of each person that you have in your life and what they bring to the table. Not who they are. What do they bring to the table? When I say what do they bring to the table, I'm talking about what do they bring to add to your life? What do they add to your life? See, a lot of times we got friends because of longevity. We got friends because of locality. Hell, we have friends because of family, associations. We have to understand that some people who were good for us at one time are no longer good for us. It's hard. But you have to do a true self-evaluation of what these people bring, and do they bring value to your life? Reggie P. Rowe. And the person on someone else's list to leave behind. You gotta leave them behind. And that's the hardest thing. And here's the part that I will give you from my own experience. And I'll speak from my own experience. When we talk about leave behind, it's not that you have to actually say, I'm not dealing with you no more. I can't have you in my life. You don't bring value. You don't have to go that route. You don't have to go that route when you choose to distance yourself from people. All you have to do is start making the changes for you. And those people will end up dropping off anyway. There's something about growth. There's something about growth and evolution that causes folks to just drop off. They will fall off on their own. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to advertise. You don't have to go and tell everybody, man, I'm done with him, bro. I ain't dealing with him no more. You don't have to advertise it. Be you. Make the changes that you need to make for you, about you, in you. They will drop off. Because a lot of times what we find out is most people, there are folks that are in your so-called circle that are there because of what they can gain from you. But then you have to ask, what do I gain from them? And, it's that old saying, if you're the smartest person in the room, you need to find another room. It goes along with this. If you're in a group or you got people in your life that do not add value to where you're trying to go or what you're trying to achieve, why? And that's the hardest part, I think, of all these. And we ain't even at the 5th one yet. But I think the relationship part is the hardest one, because what we don't want to do is we get concerned about people thinking that we're better than them. And that's a mentality we have to remove from the equation of them and what they're going to think is that we're better than them. I don't think I'm better than you. I'm trying to become better than I was yesterday. And if I'm trying to become better than I was yesterday, If you're not in that equation of helping add to that, it's not that I'm better than you. It's that I want something better than where I'm at, better than what I have. And if you're not part of that equation, I'm sorry. And I'm sorry, not apologizing for that. I'm sorry that you don't fit into where I'm trying to go. Let's make it as simple as possible. Evan Lopez, very true. Yeah. But that's the hardest part, y'all. And I keep harping on that because I'm going to say it this way. If any one of you out there decides, which I hope you do, to gear yourself in 2024 around this common denominator of health and use these 5 that I've identified, and you get to a point where the relationship that you realize is the hardest one for you to attain or try to come to a conclusion with because of the love you have for folks or how hard it is to just try to eliminate them, I would tell you this. If it's hard, that means it makes sense. I know you probably think I'm crazy, but if it's hard, that means it makes sense. Because you're in that crossroads, you're in that tunnel, you're in that pocket where you're more concerned about the person's feelings than you are about your own growth, your own health. Because if you have a relationship that's toxic, if you have a toxic relationship or you have relationships that's not adding value to you in where you're trying to go, it's affecting you mentally, it's affecting you physically, and it's affecting you spiritually. And it could be affecting you financially, and you haven't even recognized it. And the reason it's affecting you in those ways, because you're still contributing to this person when they need. You're still dealing with this person's issues, not your issues, their issues, and you're taking it all in. Think about that. In your relationships, when you go home mentally drained or you get off the phone mentally drained with a person because of their toxicity or what's going on in their life, and it's not your issue, think about it. Evaluate it. Got to make some decisions in 2024. Shalom. Happy New Year, Rodney. Good morning. Happy New Year, Michelle. Appreciate you. Thanks for your continued support. Those are the things. The relationship health is going to be the hardest one, from my opinion. Some of y'all would think it's the financial. Some of y'all would think it's the spiritual. I'm not going to say it's easy. I'm not going to say it's easy. Let me retract that. But I would think eliminating people from your life for your own growth is a lot harder. It's a lot harder than going down on your knees or getting in touch with your spiritual being and understanding not only who you are, but whom you are. Is a whole lot easier than having to let someone go from your life that has either been there for you, has helped you through things, even though you're at a point where they don't bring any more value. That's going to be hard. And let's get into this final one. Financial. Now, when you say financial, people think, oh, well, I got to go out here. I got to find me a get rich scheme. I got to do this. No. Financial health. Financial health is a term used to describe the state of one's personal monetary affairs. There are many dimensions to financial health, including the amount of savings you have, how much you're putting away for retirement, and how much of your income you are spending on fixed or non-discretionary expenses. Key takeaways. The state and stability of an individual's personal finances and financial affairs are called their financial health. Typical signs of strong financial health include a steady flow of income, rare changes in expenses, strong returns on investments, and a cash balance that is growing. To improve your financial health, you need to assess your current net worth. Create a budget you can stick to, build an emergency fund, and pay down your debts. Now, the reason I put financial health in mind, we're all coming to a point, most of the people listening are my age or older, and retirement is upon us. Let's just be real. And your financial health is going to dictate your mental health, your spiritual health, your physical health, and your relationship health when you retire. Let's just be honest. It's going to dictate a lot of things that you can and can't do when you decide to retire if your financial health is not good. And if your financial health is not good, you're gone mentally. You break down physically. Spiritually, you tend to think God is not taking care of you, or whoever you pray to is not doing what they need to do for you to make you prosper in this life. And in relationship, what you'll find out is if your financial health ain't right, those people I talked about that you made it get rid of, they ain't going to come around, especially if they know you in a time of need. So your financial health plays a big part in where we're going at this age for our retirement. And as I said, I'm not saying you have to be rich. I'm saying you should make yourself comfortable financially where it doesn't start affecting the mental, the spiritual, the physical, and the relationships in your life. This is one of the most overlooked aspects of our health, because what we don't realize when you're young and you're just getting out on your own and you're still trying to find your way and you're struggling to make money and all these things, you make a way out of no way because you compromise and different things like that. At this point in our lives, most of us own houses. Most of us own houses. Most of us have 401ks. Most of us, excuse me, I don't know why I can't get that out. Most of us have a retirement plan on paper. Let me say that again. On paper, we have a retirement plan. But when you sit down and you really calculate those things, all those vacations you like to go on, all those nice things you like to do, those dinners you like to go to, all those things while you have a job, a 9 to 5, where you have that steady income coming in for every 2 weeks, when that comes to a halt, and now you have to make sacrifices of those things that you enjoy doing, your mental, when you say I need a vacation, but you can't go to Aruba like you used to. I'm trying to work on that. You can't go on a cruise like you used to. You can't do those same things you were doing when you were working upon your retirement, because now your financial health depends on how you decide to spend that money that you may have saved, that you may have put into your 401k. And let's go in here. We also have to look at the financial when we talk about death, burials, plots. When's the last time you sat down and thought about you leaving here and what needs to be taken care of before you leave here? Because you always hear me say it. Now, I'm not trying to put anybody down, but I'm just being real. We should not have to put a GoFundMe up to bury you because you didn't prepare. Now, some things happen out of the blue. We know this. But it shouldn't be every time something happens that we got to put out a GoFundMe. Shouldn't happen. Should not happen. Or when you talk about financial health, is your significant other set up for if you do leave here, or vice versa? Are we taking the time to look at these things in a point of saying, you know what? I need to sit down. I need to do a will. I need to do a trust. I need to get my financial affairs in a healthy position, just in case. Because, we always sit back and talk about, well, God willing, I'll be here tomorrow. Well, God willing, you'll be here tomorrow. But did you do everything to set other folks up who are going to be here after you leave? And it's not all about that. Let's be clear. It's not all about that, but it's a big part of it. The people you leave behind should not be worried about financial things because you're not here. All those things need to be taken into consideration when you talk about your financial health. Let's be real about it. And while you're here, I look at it this way. We all have probably started working at about 15, 16 years old, more than likely. That's when you start working, McDonald's or cutting grass or anything, shoveling snow, whatever you did. Well, 15, 16 years old when you probably first started working. I'm 57. 40-something years of work. And then you have to ask yourself, what do I have to show for it? Am I going to be more stressed out of work than I was while I was at work? Am I financially able to do some of the things, maybe not all, but some of the things I used to do when I was working full time. Did I do everything I needed to do financially to set myself up to be able to ride off in retirement with a mental capacity of being okay? Hell, I want to get up every day and go to the gym. I don't want to have to go nowhere. I don't want to have to punch no clock or whatever. All I want to do is get up and work out, take care of myself, come home, watch some Westerns, do what I want to do. You know what I'm saying? Most of us won't do that. I want to do that, but I know it's not going to happen because there's so many things that I want to do. Don't let these 5 factors, any of these 5 factors, dictate how your 2024 is going to go. Put them as a priority. And like I said, you can interchange. You may want to change mental out with something else. You may want to change any of them out with something else. That's on you. But before you change them out, get a better understanding of what it entails for each one of these things that you're talking about that you want to do. Go and read the definitions of what they're about and do an evaluation of yourself and say, where am I at right now? And where am I trying to get to? Because a lot of times we start these ventures, I'm going to say, without understanding what the end goal is. Dr. Robert Piles, he called me on New Year's, appreciate the call. And we were talking. And I told him something he said on my show. I said, man, I'm in the process of doing a vision board. He said, oh, that's good. He said, but hey, you got to have a vision to do a vision board. I said, well, we're going to have to have another conversation because you can't just throw everything up on the board and think it's going to work. You got to work the board. Just like you create the board, you got to work the board. He said, you're going to take things down, you're going to put things up, but we're going to have that conversation. And I may have to have him back on here to discuss how this vision board is supposed to work for you. Because a lot of times we write things down, we put things up where we can see them and everything, but we don't know the full scope of what we should be doing. And then eventually it's just things on a wall because we don't understand what that vision needs to be and how we need to be focused on that vision to make it come to reality. That's the biggest part. That's the biggest part. That's right, Trent Branch. And honest self-assessment. Honest self-assessment. Because, we do self-assessments. Are we really honest, though? We'd be like, oh, do I drink too much? Nah, I don't drink too much, man. I only have a couple here, a couple there. Ask your liver. Ask your kidney if you drink too much. That's an honest assessment. When's the last time that you went to the doctor and you said, hey, when you draw my blood work this time, can you do an analysis on my liver? Can you do an analysis on my kidney? See, here, let's go back to the health real quick. I'm glad you brought that up, Trent. We talk about the physical and we start going to these doctors. You pay insurance to be able to go to the doctors. And when you go to the doctor, what we do is we accept the test that they say they're going to run on us at the time. I would challenge you, next time you go to the doctor, this is the new year, you go and get your annual physical. Tell them what you want to be tested for. Don't let them dictate to you. We're at a point where we know what ails us. We know where we see changes in our bodies and all that. If you need to tell that doctor, hey, I think I need to go see a nutritionist because I'm gaining a little weight, I'm not eating right, make them get you a nutritionist. You pay into health insurance. Make it work for you. Just saying, when you go in there, tell them, hey, I know you draw blood, or ask the question, what exactly are you testing when you draw my blood? What are all the tests? What are you looking for? Okay, well, are you looking for anything with the kidneys? You looking for anything with the livers? Liver? Are you looking for those things? Because if not, I need you to do that. I need you to do that. Well, your insurance don't cover that. Well, make it cover it. I've been paying insurance a long time. Make it work. Make it work. We don't ask the right questions. We don't dictate to them what we want done. We just go in there and accept whatever they're going to test us for. When you're talking about your health overall, make it happen. Mentally, if you decide to go see a therapist, you better put it all out there because a therapist can't help you if you only half-ass telling them what's going on. If you're spiritual, if you don't understand where you're at and you need to do an assessment, an honest assessment, you need to do an honest assessment on all 5 of these, but it'll be real. But if you want to do an honest assessment of where you stand spiritually, go down on your knees Close your eyes and meditate for a while and talk to God in the closet somewhere. He'll let you know. Either you're going to hear him or you ain't. And if you do, you might hear something you don't want to hear. Just telling you. I'm just telling you. Physical, if you're breathing hard, walking up some stairs, you got to reevaluate some stuff. If you're eating more than what's coming out of your body, if you're eating more, but ain't nothing coming out of you, you probably need to do a cleanse. A cleanse. I ain't talking about cleaning your car, cleaning you, cleaning your internal organs out. Do a cleanse. Get some of that stuff out there that's been packed up in you for a long time. I know we're going down the rabbit hole, but I'm just saying. When we talk about relationship, you need to evaluate. Some of y'all, I'm just going to be honest. Some of y'all got moms, dads, brothers, sisters, uncles. You need to let them go. If it's not working for you, just because all skin folk ain't kinfolk and all blood ain't blood. Sometimes you got to let people go. Maybe they'll make a change knowing that you're making a change. Now they got to make a change. I'm sorry. If Uncle Junior, I call him Uncle Junior. If Uncle Junior been in your life forever and he the one that tried to get you on the right path and everything, and Uncle Junior still doing the same thing he was doing, trying to get you on the right path, you might need to let Uncle Junior go or give him a path to go down where he can get right. And then your financial. Now I ain't trying to be in nobody's wallet, but look at your financial health. That's one of the things that we overlook because we think that because we're going to get a retirement check or the mortgage is paid off and all these type of things. When we talk about financial, it's not only the money you have, it's the money that what you're leaving behind. And do you have your affairs in order? Financial is a broad range. We're going to have somebody on here to talk about that as time goes. But I appreciate everybody tuning in. This was the Mind, Body, and Soul today. It's all inclusive. It's all inclusive today. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Hopefully y'all like the news segment. That's what I'm going to be doing now. We're going to get the news out the way. Then we're going to get back to some things we really need to talk about. We're going to get into having people on to talk about these different things, and as well as some good conversations, good guests. That's what we do here on Speak on the Show every Saturday morning, 10 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. Pacific. I appreciate everybody tuning in this morning. And if ain't nobody told you, hey, you're worthy. You're worthy to be here. You're worthy of the love you have, and you're worthy of anything that's been bestowed upon you. Keep on keeping on. Keep doing what you're doing, and don't let anybody tell you that you're not worthy. As I always say before I sign off, love yourself, love one another, keep your head up, and most definitely, keep your faith in God. I'll see y'all again next week, and I'll holler. Peace.